So if you had 100 rupees that you were intending to invest in equity, how much part of that would you put in an index fund versus an active fund?
So we follow a strategy typically of between 10 and 15% of all equity.
Okay.
Money goes to an index fund, and we've been doing this for a
while now. You said that since 2005.
Nothing to do with it has got nothing to do with the current. Right now, it's the flavor because the movement of 6 or 7.
So which still means that the majority of your equity component is going into an active fund. How do you see the difference, therefore, or what is it that an active fund brings to the table which an index fund doesn't?
Correct. So let me put it this way: having 10-15% in index fund by Indian standards is
very high.
Is a large sum of money.
It's a very nascent.
Yeah, because most of these index funds have actually 20 crores of some funds have 15 crores. So there have been any number of occasions when we've bought indices on the fixed income side and the equity side, and we've been the largest holders in the country on these products. That we said, the first thing we look at is valuation. So should I be overweight debt, overweight equity? And now that, for the equity allocation, for example, if valuations are high, then I want to be in a safer sector. Unfortunately, as of today, consumption, FMCG funds are very high. Actually, Indian markets are high right now. So for us, it's becoming more and more difficult that the case for being in equity is actually weakening.
Sure.
Right now. So it will vary as per time, but 10 to 15% is in index funds. We also take a lot of sectoral calls. For example, with all the banking recapitalization money that is coming in, all of a sudden banking sector funds are looking good because very large sums of money are likely to come in. There was a period for many years when pharma funds for us from 2000 to 2014 outperformed and kept up portfolios very stable vis-a-vis the index. There was a period 2008 to 2013 when the indices went nowhere.
Sure.
So it's always a mix. It's always a mix and match strategy. As of now, we are at 10-15. The markets run up too high.
But despite an active fund being, as you said, much more expensive than an index fund, some of these sectors you're talking about, there are indices available. But yet, there is a case that you're making out for the importance of an active fund management. And that's what I'm seeking to understand. Do you believe that the quality or the journey you've seen over the last 15-20 years of the performance of mutual funds, the active fund managers have been able to bring far more on the table?
Yeah. So again, let me give you two viewpoints on this, and I'm in both camps. You see, as I get older,
no, I'm not even saying it's X versus Y. I'm just trying to
explaining active and passive.
Yes.
Exactly. See, what was an advantage of an active fund? That they could 20 years earlier take small caps and mid caps into their product. And at times when they put in the small cap and mid cap, I didn't have to go shuffling out of small caps and mid caps. Sure. Like for example, we were selling out of mid caps and small caps in 16 and 17. 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, most of the returns came from the small cap, mid cap side when the markets rallied in 14. And global equities did very well for us. So if you had active managers sensibly managing it and not worrying about how they are beating the benchmarks, life would be a lot more peaceful. But the regulator wants now everything to be benchmarked to an index. So with the higher cost differential coming in, I see our first 50 and next 50 money moving more and more into index funds. That will still be tempered. For example, a lot of our American investments have done much better than Indian investments.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter whether I bought an actively managed Indian fund or a passively managed Indian fund. So I think putting too many numbers to this makes it easier to have a conversation. But in real life, if I was sitting in the US or a Chinese trade, we've done much better than Indian trades. So it always it will be dictated by the moment. And this is just from an institutional perspective, these are useful benchmarks. But from an absolute return portfolio, it's not going to work.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.